Let's bring in Hollywood divorce attorney David Glass for more on this. David?
People going through divorces are going through some of the hardest times of their lives, and a lot of what they're going through is emotional. And in any divorce, there's a huge sense of loss, and loss of relationship, of money, some friends.
Hello again, I'm David Glass, host of the Hourglass podcast, where clinical psychology and family law intersect. Today, we're talking to Vale and Rich Ronat, who are not only partners in life, they also work together and do so very successfully. We asked them to drop in to share some tips with us on how couples can make both relationships work, both a romantic relationship and a working relationship. But first, let me give them a proper introduction. Laura and Rich are indie filmmakers and have their own film production company called Good Rebel Pictures. Their new thriller, Culprit, will be coming out soon. Rich is a seasoned screenwriter, known for films such as Grand Isle, starring Nicolas Cage, and American Sicario, starring Danny Trejo. Laura enjoys a very active acting career, having appeared in Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, Charmed, Desperate Housewives, and Seventh Heaven.
Hey.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Great. How's it going? Nice to meet you.
Good. Nice to meet the two of you. Before we even get started, I have a whole list of questions, but I'm dying to ask you, how did the two of you meet?
Well, we go back over 20 years, actually in an acting class, Larry Moss acting class that we were both in at the time. And it's kind of funny because I have a very clear recollection of her on stage doing a scene in leopard pants.
And I have no recollection of him. No.
Yeah, she doesn't really. And I don't remember her scene partner at all. Like, I just don't know who it was. Like, the person didn't exist at all. And then we would see each other over the years at different parties through the acting class community, when I was an actor. And then I think it was at one party, it was before I went to go do my first film. I invited her into a writer's group that I started.
Yeah, during COVID.
Yeah, during COVID. Yeah. Not necessarily thinking that I was like hitting on her, but I did sense some potential trouble in the marriage. She was married.
Right.
And I was like,
And I thought it was purely artistic that he invited me.
It was mostly artistic.
I had a script I was finishing, and he really taught me actually how to write. I was amongst some other writers but it took a while.
And then we just became better friends. I think we were really good friends for quite a while.
Yeah.
Before we were ever romantic.
Yeah.
Okay, and did you start working together before you got romantic and you became a couple, or did you become a couple and start working together at the same time?
I think in a sense, I think you became really a writing mentor to me, in that group. So I was really able to kind of see him for his strengths and kind of what, he offered me, and he's great at writing, and I have this to offer him. And then, and knowing how he worked with me, because, when you're a kind of a neophyte at anything, you have to have someone who's not going to judge you and, be mean to you or go, oh, this sucks,
Right.
And he was just very open, and I was able to learn. Yeah, I was able to learn from him. And I think that carried over to him directing me.
Yeah.
He was a caring director and wasn't going to, kind of shut me down by saying, how could you do this? Or, this is wrong. So, hey, what are you thinking here? And,
kind of constructively trying to help. I think that is true, because it does connect a lot to directing, because directing, you can't after a take be like, that was terrible. You know what I mean? That's not the best choice of verbal communication there, right? So you always want to stay positive and constructive and go, okay, cool, that was good, and let's try this, or what are you thinking? And so in communication. So
So
I mean, the funny thing is, it reminds me that movie Whiplash, just the drummer putting up with that horribly abusive teacher. And when watching the movie, I just always kept thinking, why is this guy hanging around? I mean, why is he hanging around this guy?
Get out of there.
Is this the only guy who runs an orchestra or a jazz band in New York or in the country?
Yeah.
And I've had teachers like that, and I do not respond. It shuts down my creativity very quickly. And so I know I can't work with those people but I was really able to, in the film we just shot, really open up and do my best work, because I knew that Rich was not going to be punitive or abusive like that, right?
Right. And so how do each of you maybe have different methods, separate your day jobs together, working together for your production company, putting together movies, you act in them, Laura, how do you separate that job from the job of being a partner?
You think you kind of,
I kind of feel like they actually kind of go hand in hand, to be honest with you. Like, even when we're like professional together, there's not really a separation there for us.
because we both are passionate about it. And I think it really, we have these shared values, and that's exciting. So when we're sharing about our passion projects and also the business side, I think also, like, again, I know what his strengths are and some of his weaknesses or preferences, and he also knows what my strengths are. So, it's a real
Yeah, they kind of just
respect
connect
that way.
They
But yeah, they connect that way. But we definitely make time for romantic time and just
Right.
couple time, personal time. I think that's very important. It's like keeping that vitality in the relationship, where you're not thinking about business or the day to day. It's just
Right.
pure enjoyment of one another and play.
Yeah.
We're very playful with one another. So we
Yeah.
laugh a lot, and that's a real key, I think, to
Yeah, I
our
sent her a
connection.
video yesterday of these, was those mountain goats?
Yeah, something.
It was great. The caption said, "This is when you found your true partner," and it was like these two goats.
Someone as weird as you are.
Oh yeah, someone as weird as you are, and it was two goats going the weirdest laughs, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Babe, it's us." Yeah,
That's
it was really
great.
funny. Yeah,
That's great.
and we
It's sweet.
we
Yeah.
do have dinner every night together too, and then make time for a romantic time, but also Scrabble. Kind of decompresses us at night. We don't really think about anything. We just kind of just relax together.
Yeah.
Every night.
We always and we always
We
there's
go on
certain
date
things
nights
we do.
sometimes too.
Yeah,
but we
there's
don't
certain
really.
things we do together that we like meals and
Yeah.
we
don't like to leave very much, or I should say, I don't like to leave because we have a French bulldog named Ernie who we love very much, and I don't want to leave him. So yeah, so we do. We don't really, we do. To me, it's like a date night every night, just at dinner at home. But it is good to go out and do stuff as well.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. And what about running your household? There's me and my colleagues have sort of a running argument about gender roles in the household. And some people will say it's better to have these sort of traditional gender roles because everyone knows what their job is. It's not
Right.
really modern. It's not the way people have been sort of trained to live over the last decade. So where are you guys on that?
I do everything, 100% everything, and
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you say that because we really fell naturally into maybe what you think are gender roles, and I don't really care because it goes to my strengths and interests, and what he does goes to his strengths and interests. So I don't think Rich has been in a grocery store since we've been together.
I shopped for my birthday once.
Oh, he did. Okay. So but I like that. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with doing certain things around the house. I also like, I came into his life. He was a happy bachelor. He kept his place the way he kept it. I come into his life. Who am I to say, hey, this needs to happen? But I say, hey, I have a preference here. And hey, did you see that over there? Let's clear off the table. He goes, oh yeah, I didn't see it. So it's not and then he goes and maybe clears it off, but it's not an unwillingness for, on his part. He just might not see it. And I assume that, that's what it is.
Tell him about the basil plant.
Oh yeah. The other day we had, I brought home a basil plant, and I'm not a green thumb, I'll admit. And it was in the window, and I'm not the most observant either. So I pay attention to other things rather than what's in the house. And I go, oh, hon, basil plant died. And he goes, I didn't even realize there was a basal plan.
I never saw it.
And then we just started laughing. We just
Yeah,
started
yeah, yeah.
laughing,
I'm like-
like this is us.
Yeah,
It just
we don't really like have the jobs too. I think are not like she tells me to do something. I don't have a problem doing it. I think I don't. I have no ego around like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I should probably clean that.
he's not like,
But
well,
at the same
don't
time,
tell
we're
me
not.
what to do,
Yeah, and at the same
something
time,
like
we're
that.
not obsessively clean or dirty. I think we're in a good kind of, to me, like a good lived-in
Yeah.
place in a way. Like we're not we're both just not OCD on cleanliness necessarily.
Right,
But we
or-
never let it get too dirty for sure.
He doesn't have an ego about like, don't tell me what to do, because I've run into
Right.
people like that,
Yeah.
don't tell me what to do, or don't try to control me. And you really have to have a kind of a generosity of spirit there in terms of
Right.
you have to know the other person is on your team. It's a team. You're trying to do this together for the betterment of both of you.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And that seems to be the key. I'm a divorce lawyer now. I used to be a therapist 27 years ago, but my divorce clients, the most common problem, aside from the reasons for divorce that people talk about, is just an unwillingness to work as a team. To take
Yeah.
any sort of suggestions as criticism. That's sort of the biggest burning problem that I think if people cleared it up, there would be more happy couples.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. And I think, when you see really bad examples like you have, of what leads to
Mhm.
divorce, we definitely don't have a lot of those qualities.
It is just working together as a team, I
Yeah.
think, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
There's no-
even when you have to try to solve any issues that come up about, you might feel weird about something that gets said or something that was said to somebody else. We also don't avoid conflict either, where we're like, hey, but even when we talk about the conflict, I feel like it's from a good place of kindness and like,
Yeah.
and like of being on the other person's team for sure. Then we just talk stuff out and we're good.
Mhm. You address it.
Yeah.
And don't, I know he's not gonna judge me or criticize me, and he knows I'm not gonna judge him or criticize him. So that's really a great place to be, because so much of us have had that in our past.
Oh, absolutely.
We don't need it in our intimate relationships. That's exactly where we don't need it. We go to that for refuge.
Right.
So-
Right. Absolutely right. And even following up on with my divorce clients, once they've gotten divorced, if they move on and find a successful relationship, they all talk about, I'm so much better at work because I go to work and or I'm better with friends, whatever it is out in the world.
Right.
You come home and you've got your partner to fix things, to make you feel better, to boil everything down with.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's kind of why I think that connects to like not the professional compared to the work personal, is they're kind of connected because we're
Sure.
treat each other the same way professionally. That it's just, and it's also fun. It's not like work, like it's like hard work, it's just we're enjoying what we do. So I think that's another.
Yeah,
plays
and
in.
we're both very independent people, and we came into each other's lives being separate people, having our own lives. What's important. So it's like we kind of respect those boundaries of, when he needs to do something and buckle down, I'm like, hey, go do it, and I'll go into my office and do my thing, and then this is the time I need. Okay, great.
And we both have awesome things that put each other to sleep when the other person talks. Like when she tells me about what she steals at Trader Joe's, I just instant narcolepsy. I go.
And rather than feel offended, I laugh.
And if I talk about the Cincinnati Bengals,
yes,
she goes.
When he starts doing football, I go.
Yeah. Right out.
I'm like.
Too much. Now,
But it's
Laura,
cool.
you and I also have. I was a therapist in the past.
Yes.
I understand you were a counselor, a therapist in the past. How do you use those skills and those experiences, either in your acting or your writing or producing?
Yeah, there's two things. I thought of that. I became a much, I think, more developed actress after having had the experience of being a therapist, because in the therapy room, as you know, your ego doesn't really have a place. It's for the other person. And I think to do any good acting, your ego has to get away, and you have to kind of move aside and be a conduit to the character and serve the story.
Yeah.
So I think it's really helped me be a much less self-conscious. This is Ernie, and he wanted to get up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's really helped me in writing. I'm very much about bringing in character, more multi-layered characters, and that's the human interest story is really captivating to me. But he also reminds me, you got to keep the story moving. You can't,
Right.
it's like there's got to be a structure to it and keep it moving. In terms of business, I think, if we look at like a film set, and I've been lucky to work on some really well-functioning film sets, it's
Sure.
like a large family. So you have to keep that balance, that homeostasis of, who's going to work well together. So if I'm hiring someone for a film set, I'm like, are they a bad apple? Are they going to be able to collaborate with others well? And I don't have a lot of tolerance. I don't really have any tolerance for someone who's going to bring a lot of negativity or just a bad
we both
attitude.
don't.
Yeah,
I had to fire somebody off the set, and it was very easy to do. It was
yeah, and he's very patient. He's very patient. But I think both of us are good
good judges of
character.
negative energy, or just when it turns toxic and we can tell, and it's like, nope, I'm done, I'm out.
Right.
But I give people a benefit of the doubt until that point. For sure.
Sure.
Yeah. And
You can have a bad day here and there, but I feel like when you're the same person every day complaining about your house not working or whatever it was, it's like, no, bro, no, not happening. Like,
Yeah. And
so yeah, it's and I think you deal with all different kinds of personalities in the film industry, and for me, being able to kind of step back and be in an observer place and not take it as personally or get in there with that person when they have when they are in conflict,
which is a great challenge for her to do when she's acting, because as an actress she has to really try to stay emotionally available and kind of open. So it's really important to create an atmosphere on set to allow that, and to so, but if there is negativity where that's kind of starting to hurt that's been my job to make sure that doesn't happen, which it didn't.
And yeah,
but
yours
it's also smart for you to do, to not take in, which you did well. You didn't take in bad things before shooting.
Our brilliant producer Cosmos, who told me, when you're acting, you're not a producer. That's my job. I'm going to handle anything to allow you to do your best work. So that it really created that barrier, that boundary for me, that was very clear. Like, this is your role now, and then you can go into your other role at this time. So really,
yeah, I'm interested in just a snapshot of what a typical workday looks like for you. I'm very regimented. When I go to my office, I don't work from home at all. When I go to my office, I'm working. And when I come home, I'm not working. I put down the phone and I don't look at it. There aren't too many people who live that way anymore. But for me, it's sort of that time blocking. This is the time for this, and this is the time for everything else. Works really well. What does it look for? Because it sounds like you're constantly working together, except when you set aside time to be a couple.
Well, so a typical day is like, I get, if we get up together, we'll both walk the dog, or have coffee together, walk the dog together. And then she actually goes and does her, her therapy clients, so she has her own office in the house, and then I'm writing as well. So we're actually very separated.
And I go out of town to an office as well.
Yeah, she drives in LA to an office, right? So a lot of the time, actually, I would say most of the days, like most of the 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, we're pretty separate doing our own work, actually.
Oh, okay.
We'll exchange, if certain things come up for, like, that are about our production company, then we'll talk about that. And so they'll kind of come and go. But for the most part, I'm writing 10-hour days and she's doing therapy. And then at night, that's when we kind of reconnect, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and then
walk the dog in the middle of the day together sometimes.
Yeah.
He's around. He requires a lot. He's like our baby, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it's about the day, right?
Yeah. And
I order Grubhub for us at night usually, and or if she doesn't feel like cooking, sometimes she cooks. Yeah.
So it's we fit it all in. And he'll call me about things production related. when I'm on a break or, in between things. And I have certain days where I just focus more on the production stuff.
Yeah.
Sure. All right. What kind of tips can you provide for our viewers, the people in our audience who are working on a romantic relationship and possibly also working on working together the way you two have seemed to figure out pretty well? Can you give us some quick do's and don'ts from your experience?
Right.
You have some don'ts.
Yeah, I would say like for me, the biggest don't is seek conflict in any exchange you have. I feel like so many people are always just kind of conflict prone to some degree and are looking to either blame the other person for something or to be right. I think that they don't realize how much their ego gets involved, I think.
Yeah.
So I think it's just it makes life a lot more fun and lighter and easier when you actually don't have that intention behind everything you're doing.
It's also celebrating the other person's success is very important.
Yeah.
I think we're maybe lucky in that we do different things too,
Yeah, we're
because
both not. Yeah.
we celebrate success. Like, say, something great happens for Rich. I'm like, oh yes. I want to support that. And I also have the belief, like, there's a generosity of spirit there where he's celebrating my success.
Yeah.
We don't compete either. Like we don't,
you can't compete.
Like there's no reason to. Like we both do different things. So it'd probably be different if we're both trying to be actors. That might be a different, maybe not.
But you can't compete. If you're in competition, it's not going to work.
Right.
You've got to, have a sense of humor. That's a big one. That can be.
You gotta laugh like goats.
That could, that can be a real, lubrication for anything. So I really think sense of humor.
Yeah.
And
don't take yourself that seriously either. Like even when you're talking about serious things, there's still a way to do it that's not so heavy-handed. Remembering the important things too. Like this is going to sound a little morbid, but it actually helps me. Is like we'll all be dead soon. You know what I mean? That's a great thing if you think about it, because you go, yeah, why am I worried or freaking out about something this stupid? Enjoy this right now. Like enjoy and stay in the moment as much as you can. Right.
Or something that no one is going to remember. You're not going to remember in a week. No one else is going to remember 10 minutes later.
Right.
And why are you getting all caught up on this one little thing?
Yeah.
Usually some sort of little thing.
Yeah, I feel like there's I should have a top 10 list of do's and don'ts, but there's
Need it.
it also just happens in the little things, the little interactions. Be kind. Kindness is kind of an underused word.
Yeah, and try to really understand where the other person's coming from, right? Like seems so simple, but really understand like you felt that way and why. Okay, you know what I mean? It just gives you different clarity on someone's coming from in a certain if they had a moment of feeling upset.
And follow through on what you say you're going to do, and if something makes the other person feel better and you're able to do it, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, actions are always better than words that way.
Sure.
Yep. So
now I'm preparing for talking today. I learned that you two have a philosophy about hugging every morning. I think it is that. Could you tell us what the plan is and why it works for you guys?
Yeah, I was reading about hugging, and I've always known the health benefits of and emotional benefits of hugging. It produces oxytocin, which is known as the cuddle drug and the love drug, and women usually produce more of it after sex, which is a great feeling. And so it really helps with a bond between a couple. If you're a couple, it helps reduce stress. It helps heart function, lowers blood pressure, and I think it's a great foundation for friendships, but being a romantic couple, that bond and making you feel safe throughout the day. It's like, okay, today will be okay.
Right. I also think it's like a reconnection to reality because you've been sleeping all night. You're kind of foggy headed.
Yeah.
And then you're like, you actually like kind of hug each other, kind of go, oh yeah. Like it's a little reminder, yeah, this is awesome. You know what I mean? Like it seems so like obvious, but it's kind of true. Like when you do it, when you take the action, do it physically, it does for at least 20 seconds, right?
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think we count or anything, but we just kind of do it until we're good.
When you think of it, like so many of us have been disconnected for 2 years or more during the pandemic, and I'm seeing so many more anxiety disorders and depression throughout that, especially with young people who their primary relationship is with their phone, like you were talking about, or with the device. And there's nothing like physical touch.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's really important in any relationship, whether it's platonic or erotic. So
Unless you're like my buddy Brian, who likes to hug everybody for way too long.
Yeah.
And I tell him, just keep it to your partner, buddy.
Yeah, although you know what? Yeah, years ago, when I first moved to California, and I made some new friends when I moved out here about 20 years ago, I went out to lunch and I went to shake a new friend's hand. He said, "I don't want to shake your hand. I want a hug," and gave me a big hug. And he sort of wasn't a doctor, just prescribed, "You've got to hug at least 8 people a day." And I wasn't
Oh, that's awesome.
I wasn't very huggy at that point. I didn't realize it, but I just wasn't. And so I think about, I've got to, and I started counting, and just by counting it, and then it becomes habit. But I'm right there with you. The physical contact brings you right back to just being a human.
Yes.
Totally.
Yep.
That's where good martial arts comes in too. Like jujitsu is like a lot of that is just a human connection and a primal kind of controlled way that's like creative and kind of like a good connection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and both of us are very physical people, so that's another thing that joins us. Like
she beats me.
Value.
She beats me every night at midnight. Kickboxing. I'm hiding the bruises under the shirt. No. What was it? Blink twice if you're in trouble.
You gotta come from a divorce attorney, okay? Yeah. Just give me a bad rap. Give me a bad rap.
So obviously all done in jest and good humor. Why don't you take some time to tell us about your new film? You've got a new film out. Where's it going to be? I think it's coming to a festival imminently. So tell us about that.
Yeah. It's.
Well, we're not allowed to
announce it publicly yet, but it's at a really cool festival
at a large theater
at the Man's Chinese Theater, which is awesome, really great space, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's a movie's called Culprit. It's it's a psychological thriller / crime thriller about a guy who gets out of prison after 27 years, and he originally went in for the murder of a 9-year-old girl, and her older sister, played by Laura, always never really thought he did it. So she kind of helps to get him released on kind of mishandled evidence, gets him released, and then wants to partner with him to try to figure out who the real killer was. And she suspects her own family or maybe her own dad. And as soon as he gets out, another girl ends up getting killed in the same exact way.
Wow.
And you're like, oh shit. Is he not?
Yeah, like keep you on the edge of your seat.
Yeah, keeps you hooked. We rehearsed it like a play for a month before we shot it.
Yeah. So
I really wanted to focus on story and performances, put that first, and it really paid off really well. So yeah. So, and it's the first of Good Rebel Pictures, our production company that we're launching, and we're really focusing on doing elevated, high quality thrillers, at a lower budget to independent film, and staying in the indie world, really putting character and story first, nothing else. No agenda, no politics, nothing else, just good stories.
Right. That sounds great. And I'll be looking forward to whenever it gets released.
You got to come.
Well,
you got to come to the premiere.
Yeah.
You can. Are you in LA? Do you live in LA?
Yes, I'm here in LA. I'm broadcasting from Sunset Boulevard at La Cienega.
What? You're like 10 minutes away. You got to come, man. Yeah, you got to come. You're invited.
That sounds great.
There's a lot of family drama in there, and there's so much actually that is very well written, but we had to cut a lot of it out to kind of keep it going. We cut out some really wonderful scenes, but that's what I love about Rich writes really rich relationships and characters. So
it was kind of in between a family drama and a thriller, and I kind of knew I'd be probably end up losing some of the family drama stuff, even though it's really well shot and well acted. Like she was great, but we had to go from, I think the rough assembly was 2 hours and 35 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was, and then I ended up cutting it down to 1 hour 33 because it was just like, yeah, that's just, it's so good, but we don't need it. Cut it,
Right.
make it, keep it moving. So especially when you're focusing on a movie that doesn't have like, it was a lower budget film without big action sequences, like we're all 100% performance and story based, so to make that move and keep interesting was a good challenge.
Yeah. All that sounds just amazing. Any final tips for our audience members, things that you thought about talking about but I haven't asked you about, as far as relationships, working, owning dogs, anything?
Owning dogs. Dogs
Get a
are
French bulldog.
Dogs will keep you in the present moment like anything else. I call them the guardians of the present moment. I full-heartedly, and they're a good substitution for parenting. For people who don't have kids, they can kind of get their parental needs met. And what else? Imagine that you can have a good relationship. I think some people just don't realize that there's anything out there for them, and that they can't conceive of something good if something bad has happened in the past, or they haven't had necessarily good luck with romantic relationships. You have to start imagining that something maybe good can happen, and and get rid of like what you need from a person. Like, I need this from you. I need you to be this way. Like, let a person kind of come to you. Maybe it's a friend.
Or I would say, like, that reminds me of what we were talking about before about not creating a fantasy. When we got together, we never really created a fantasy about each other because we were already friends.
Yeah.
And I think that starts off a relationship in a very real, organic place, because it's just, you're not going into the relationship thinking like, she's going to be like this, this, and this, because that's what I like. That's what I need her to be.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or whatever she's thinking. Right. So we didn't have any of that. So
yeah, like you're not fitting this role that I need you to be. It's not there. It's like, no, you already had your way of living well before I came along.
Yeah.
Right.
So let me see. Do you enhance my life?
Maybe that means we're just really saying, don't get married before like 35.
Listen, I have 2 adult daughters. I've been telling that they're in their mid-20s, and I'm just wait. I know you have great boyfriends. I love them, but just wait. You're not who you're going to become, and just make sure.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I only feel like I became who I am now at about the early to mid 30s.
Yeah.
Where I was like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Taking this all the way full circle to where we started, people always ask me, where should I go to meet someone? And I think the answer is just not a bar, and not where people think you're going to meet someone. You met in an acting class, and it was in part attributable to some leopard skin pants. And I met my wife in a therapist waiting room. You just never know where you're going to meet.
I love that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, shared interests.
Yeah.
As a therapist, I wanted to set up clients. So, you often think, "Ooh, should I put them in the waiting room at the same time?" Like you and your wife, right?
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. I mean, that's I showed up at the wrong time, and that's how we met. And then I said to my therapist, who we shared, I know you can't tell me anything about that woman, but that's maybe someone I'd want to date. And that was on a Wednesday. And on Friday, she left me like a cryptic voicemail message that just said, "Oh, you know that woman you were, maybe you should give her a call." Okay, I shouldn't have said anything. Goodbye. And then she hung up. She sort of knew she was going over the line.
Kind of breaking it.
To let me know. Anyway.
That's awesome. She must have known that it was the right fit.
Yeah.
It's a sense.
I really wish therapists could I've thought about having an app for run by therapists, a dating app run by therapists, because we know what works and what doesn't. You see what doesn't work.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I guess I'm not a very good promoter for dating apps, I guess.
That's all right.
I'm so glad the dates didn't work.
Yeah, they're not hurting for money, and people keep going to them. They don't need you or me or anyone else to
exactly promote them. Yeah.
But it's been an absolute pleasure to talking.
Thanks for having us, man. It was great to talk to you.
Yeah.
Finding out about your relationship, how you work together. I think a lot of interesting insights that our viewers are going to love.
I hope
Nice.
so.
Yeah,
I
hopefully
hope
helps
so.
people. Yeah.
Yeah, I like what you're doing.
Great.
Great.
So, all right.
Great talking to you.
Awesome. Yeah, great to talk to you, man.